Good men will be shocked to know this about their wives, and sex is not just a provocative title. It's a wake-up call. Too many good, loving, responsible men believe they understand their wives emotionally and physically, yet research and real-life experiences show that many women remain silently unsatisfied, unheard, or misunderstood in their intimate relationships. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. It's about opening our eyes to the hidden emotional and psychological layers of a woman's sexual world. Layers that even the most caring husbands often overlook. Today, we are going to uncover truths that can transform marriages, deepen intimacy, and build stronger emotional connections. Good men want to love well, and when they understand what truly matters to their wives, everything changes. When discussing intimacy, it is common to focus solely on the physical aspects of sex. However, for most women, sexual desire is rarely isolated from emotional context. Emotional connection is not just a nice-to-have. It is the foundation upon which meaningful and fulfilling physical intimacy is built. Understanding this principle is crucial for any man who wants to cultivate a deeper, more satisfying relationship with his wife. Women are naturally wired to experience intimacy as a combination of emotional, psychological, and physical factors. Unlike men, who often can separate physical attraction from emotional engagement, many women find that their sexual desire is heavily influenced by the quality of their emotional bond with their partner. This means that a wife who feels emotionally disconnected, stressed, or unappreciated may struggle to feel desire, regardless of physical attraction or sexual availability. Emotional connection is, in essence, the spark that ignites sexual energy. So, what does emotional connection really look like in a marriage? It begins with attention and presence. Women often seek validation not through grand gestures alone, but through the everyday demonstration that they are seen, heard, and understood. A husband who actively listens to his wife's concerns, celebrates her achievements, and shows empathy during challenging moments creates an emotional environment where intimacy can thrive. Simple acts such as asking how her day went, remembering small details about her life, or providing reassurance during stressful times can dramatically strengthen the emotional bond. Another key aspect of emotional connection is trust and vulnerability. Women are more likely to feel desired and open to physical intimacy when they believe their partner respects and honors their feelings. Emotional safety allows a wife to relax and engage without fear of judgment or dismissal. For example, a woman may wish to share her fantasies, express dissatisfaction, or simply reveal insecurities. A husband's willingness to listen without defensiveness is critical. By cultivating a space where honesty is welcomed and respected, a man reinforces the emotional intimacy that naturally precedes sexual connection. Affection and appreciation also play an essential role. Physical touch alone, such as hugging, holding hands, or a gentle kiss, can help maintain emotional closeness. But beyond physical gestures, verbal affirmation is equally important. Compliments, words of gratitude, and expressions of love nurture emotional warmth. When a woman feels appreciated for who she is, not just for her physical presence or domestic contributions, her emotional engagement grows, creating a fertile ground for sexual desire. It is also important to recognize that emotional connection is ongoing and cumulative. Women often reflect on patterns over time rather than isolated incidents. Consistent acts of care, empathy, and attention signal reliability and strengthen the emotional bond. On the other hand, neglecting emotional needs, whether through constant distractions, indifference, or lack of communication, gradually erodes desire, regardless of physical attraction. This is why some men may feel puzzled when a previously passionate relationship starts to cool. The issue is rarely a sudden lack of attraction, but rather a slow weakening of emotional intimacy. Finally, understanding that emotional connection is central to physical intimacy can fundamentally change how a man approaches his relationship. Instead of seeing sex as a one-way transaction or a solution to a problem, he can recognize it as the culmination of emotional investment. Engaging in shared activities, meaningful conversations, acts of kindness, and mutual support are not merely domestic chores, they are powerful tools to deepen intimacy. By prioritizing emotional connection, a husband lays the groundwork for a more satisfying, mutually fulfilling sexual relationship, where desire naturally flows from the love and respect that underpin it. In conclusion, men who want to maintain a thriving, intimate relationship must understand that for many women, sex is inseparable from emotion. Emotional connection is not optional, it is the key that unlocks physical intimacy. Listening, empathizing, appreciating, and nurturing emotional closeness are not just acts of love. They are the essential foundation for sexual satisfaction. A marriage where emotional intimacy is prioritized will almost inevitably see an increase in physical desire, deeper satisfaction, and a stronger, more resilient partnership. Ignoring this principle risks confusion, frustration, and a sense of distance that can quietly undermine even the most loving relationships. For men committed to truly understanding their wives, emotional connection is the first and most critical step toward lasting intimacy. One of the biggest misconceptions in marriage is that sexual intimacy is fully understood by both partners simply because they share a physical relationship. In reality, most couples rarely communicate openly and honestly about sex, desires, boundaries, or satisfaction. This lack of communication often leads to misunderstandings, frustration, and emotional distance, even in otherwise happy marriages. For good men who believe they understand their wives' sexual needs, the truth is that without communication, true understanding is nearly impossible. Many women hesitate to talk about sex openly due to fear of judgment, embarrassment, or causing conflict. They may worry that expressing their desires could make them seem needy or demanding, or they may fear that their husband might feel inadequate if he cannot meet those desires. In some cases, cultural or societal norms reinforce the idea that women should prioritize their husband's pleasure over their own, making open discussion even more difficult. The result is a silent suppression of feelings and desires, which creates a hidden gap in the sexual relationship. For men, this can be shocking to realize, especially when they have assumed that no complaints mean complete satisfaction. On the other hand, men often avoid initiating discussions about sexual needs because they fear being rejected, misunderstood, or appearing insecure. Many husbands assume that if a problem exists, it will surface naturally or through indirect hints, rather than through a clear conversation. Unfortunately, hints are rarely enough. Women rarely use subtle signals in ways men can consistently interpret, and men may misread these signals entirely, creating frustration for both partners. This miscommunication can accumulate over time, gradually reducing intimacy and leaving both partners feeling emotionally distant. Effective sexual communication involves more than just talking about desires. It also requires active listening and empathy. When a woman shares her feelings, fantasies, or concerns, it is essential for her partner to respond with patience, understanding, and validation, rather than defensiveness or criticism. For instance, if a wife expresses discomfort with a particular act, a husband's instinctive reaction might be to justify or dismiss it. Instead, acknowledging her feelings and discussing possible solutions creates trust and strengthens the bond. Over time, this kind of communication fosters a safe space where both partners can explore their needs without fear of judgment. Another challenge is that many couples communicate inconsistently or only during conflict. Conversations about sexual satisfaction often occur reactively after problems or dissatisfaction have already arisen, rather than proactively as a regular part of nurturing the relationship. Regular, open dialogue about sex can prevent misunderstandings and build intimacy. This could include discussions about what feels good, what doesn't, new things to try, or how life stress is affecting desire. By normalizing these conversations, sex becomes a shared experience of exploration and connection rather than a source of tension or insecurity. It is also important to recognize that sexual communication is emotional as well as verbal. Nonverbal cues, touch, facial expressions, and body language communicate feelings and preferences in ways that words sometimes cannot. However, relying solely on nonverbal communication is risky because it is often subject to misinterpretation. Couples who pair verbal discussions with attentive observation are more likely to understand each other deeper. Asking questions like, "Do you enjoy this?" or "How do you feel about trying this?" demonstrates attentiveness and encourages a culture of openness. Finally, improving communication about sex requires courage and intention. It is about more than addressing physical needs. It is about mutual respect, trust, and emotional intimacy. Men who take the initiative to invite honest discussions without judgment or pressure signal to their wives that her satisfaction matters. Women who feel safe expressing themselves are more likely to engage fully in the sexual relationship, creating a cycle of openness, trust, and deeper connection. In conclusion, limited communication about sex is one of the most common but overlooked barriers to intimacy in marriage. Good men are often shocked to learn that their wives may be silently dissatisfied, not because of lack of attraction or love, but because there has been no safe space for honest discussion. Open, empathetic, and consistent communication transforms sex from a physical act into a profound expression of emotional and relational intimacy. Understanding this principle is essential for men who wish to strengthen not only their sexual relationship but their overall marriage. By breaking the silence and fostering open dialogue, men can bridge the gap between assumptions and reality, ensuring that both partners feel seen, heard, and truly connected. In many marriages, women consistently put their husbands' needs ahead of their own, emotionally, physically, and sexually. This tendency often goes unnoticed by men, who may assume that their wives are entirely satisfied or that their desires naturally align with theirs. However, prioritizing a husband's needs while neglecting one's own can lead to silent frustration, reduced desire, and a subtle but persistent emotional disconnect in the relationship. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for any man who wants to cultivate a truly satisfying and balanced marriage. From the earliest stages of a relationship, women are often conditioned to nurture, care, and accommodate. They are socialized to think of others' needs first, to be supportive, and to maintain harmony. In marriage, this manifests in ways that are both visible and invisible. A wife may organize the household, prepare meals, manage schedules, and juggle responsibilities while constantly considering her husband's comfort and preferences. This selflessness extends into the bedroom, where she may engage in sexual activity even when she is tired, stressed, or not fully aroused, simply to fulfill what she perceives as her husband's expectations. While such generosity is rooted in love and commitment, it can have unintended consequences. When women repeatedly suppress their own desires to satisfy their partner, they may experience a gradual decline in sexual interest. Physical intimacy becomes more of a duty than a shared expression of mutual desire. Over time, this pattern can create a sense of imbalance in the relationship, where men may believe everything is fine, while women silently feel their needs are unmet. This disconnect often leaves both partners frustrated, men confused about a waning spark, and women quietly longing for attention to their own desires. It is important to recognize that this self-prioritization is rarely about manipulation or resentment. Most women genuinely want their husbands to feel loved and satisfied. However, the habitual neglect of their own needs is often subconscious. For instance, a wife may agree to a sexual encounter even when exhausted, suppressing her desire for rest or emotional connection, simply because she wants to make her husband happy. She may also avoid expressing her fantasies or preferences, fearing it might seem selfish or demanding. The challenge is that this pattern, while appearing selfless, can gradually erode her sense of agency and satisfaction in the relationship. Men who are unaware of this dynamic may misinterpret their wife's compliance as complete contentment. They might assume that because she is participating, she is fully engaged and happy. This misunderstanding is common and highlights the critical need for emotional awareness and communication. Recognizing that a wife may be prioritizing his needs over her own can be a profound revelation for many men, prompting them to consider whether they are truly attentive to her desires, comfort, and emotional well-being. Breaking this pattern requires deliberate effort and empathy. Men can begin by observing not just the physical participation but the emotional engagement of their wives. Small gestures of consideration, asking about her desires, checking if she is truly in the mood, or suggesting a night focused on her pleasure, signal that her satisfaction matters as much as his own. Over time, these actions build trust and invite women to express their needs more freely. Furthermore, creating a culture of mutual prioritization transforms intimacy. In a healthy sexual relationship, both partners feel free to articulate their desires without fear of judgment or guilt. When women feel that their needs are equally important, they are more likely to experience genuine desire, relaxation, and emotional connection. This not only enhances sexual fulfillment, but also strengthens overall marital satisfaction, as both partners feel seen, valued, and respected. Ultimately, understanding that women often prioritize their husband's needs over their own is a key insight for any man who wants to deepen intimacy. Recognizing this dynamic allows men to step beyond assumptions, actively listen, and ensure that their wives' desires are honored. By fostering an environment where her needs are met alongside his own, a husband encourages authentic engagement, mutual pleasure, and a deeper emotional connection that benefits both partners. In other words, true intimacy is never one-sided. It thrives when both partners are equally seen, valued, and fulfilled. In conclusion, women's tendency to put their husband's needs first is a silent yet powerful force in marriages. While rooted in love and care, it can unintentionally suppress desire and emotional closeness. Good men who recognize this dynamic and respond with empathy, communication, and shared prioritization can transform their marriages, creating a sexual and emotional relationship that is deeply satisfying for both partners. Understanding, honoring, and reciprocating attention to a wife's needs is not only a sign of respect, it is the gateway to lasting intimacy and marital harmony. Of the most overlooked factors affecting a woman's sexual desire is the combination of stress and mental load. Unlike men, who may be able to compartmentalize stress more easily, many women carry a complex emotional and cognitive burden daily, often referred to as the mental load. This mental load is not simply the result of external stressors. It is the cumulative effect of managing multiple responsibilities, anticipating others' needs, and maintaining emotional equilibrium within the household. Understanding how this impacts libido is crucial for men who want to foster a deeply connected and mutually satisfying sexual relationship. The mental load encompasses a wide range of responsibilities, both visible and invisible. Women often oversee household management, including meal planning, grocery shopping, scheduling appointments, managing children's needs, coordinating social obligations, and ensuring everyone in the family functions smoothly. Beyond these tangible tasks, women also bear the emotional labor of monitoring relationships, remembering important dates, supporting extended family, and anticipating problems before they arise. While men often participate in household tasks, studies show that women disproportionately carry the cognitive and emotional burden of maintaining the home and family dynamic. This constant state of mental engagement leaves little room for relaxation or mental space necessary for sexual desire. Libido, for most women, is closely linked to emotional and mental well-being. When a woman is preoccupied with the to-do list of daily life, her mind remains in a state of alertness, problem-solving, and stress management. In this state, sexual desire often diminishes because the mind and body are focused on survival and responsibilities rather than pleasure and connection. A husband might misinterpret this as a lack of interest in him, but the root cause is often stress-induced mental exhaustion rather than emotional disconnection. Stress also triggers physiological changes that directly affect sexual function. High levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, can reduce the body's natural sexual responsiveness by lowering arousal and diminishing physical sensations. Chronic stress can disrupt sleep, decrease energy levels, and create tension in the body, all of which negatively impact libido. For women who are already managing multiple roles at home or work, these physiological effects are compounded, creating a barrier to intimacy that is rarely acknowledged or discussed openly. Emotional support from a husband can play a transformative role in mitigating this stress and mental load. Acts of understanding, empathy, and shared responsibility signal to a wife that she is not carrying the burden alone. For instance, helping with household chores without being asked, managing children's schedules, or simply checking in to see how she feels emotionally can reduce her stress levels significantly. Even small gestures such as offering a massage after a long day, preparing a meal, or providing time for her to relax can signal that her well-being matters. These actions not only alleviate mental load, but also create a psychological and emotional environment conducive to sexual desire. Another key element is recognizing and validating her experience. Many women hesitate to express fatigue, stress, or lack of libido because they fear disappointing their husband or being perceived as ungrateful. Men who proactively acknowledge the pressures their wives face and reassure them that their needs are understood create a safe space for open communication about intimacy. Validation, empathy, and support are powerful tools for rebuilding desire, as they reinforce the emotional security that is often a prerequisite for sexual engagement. It is also important for men to understand that reducing stress and mental load is not a one-time effort. It is a continuous practice. Women's daily responsibilities are dynamic, and ongoing support is necessary to sustain emotional balance. Sharing household responsibilities equitably, rotating parenting duties, and consciously creating opportunities for her relaxation can prevent chronic stress from undermining sexual desire. This approach demonstrates not only love, but also respect, reinforcing the partnership that is essential for intimacy. In conclusion, stress and mental load are significant, yet often overlooked, factors that impact a woman's libido. For many women, sexual desire cannot be separated from emotional and cognitive well-being. By recognizing the weight of these responsibilities and actively supporting their wives in managing stress, men can remove barriers to intimacy and foster a stronger, more passionate connection. Understanding that mental and emotional load directly influences sexual desire allows men to approach intimacy with empathy, patience, and intentionality. In doing so, they not only enhance sexual fulfillment, but also strengthen the emotional and relational foundation of their marriage, creating a partnership where both partners thrive. Sexual fulfillment is often misunderstood as purely physical, a matter of technique, frequency, or desire. While those elements play a role, for most women, true sexual satisfaction is deeply intertwined with feeling valued, seen, and appreciated. Appreciation acts as the emotional fuel that powers intimacy. Without it, even physical attraction and desire may falter. Good men who want to deepen their marriages must recognize that appreciation is not optional. It is a cornerstone of sexual and emotional connection. Women thrive in relationships where their efforts, sacrifices, and unique qualities are acknowledged. This does not mean that grand gestures are always necessary. Often, the smallest, consistent acts of recognition carry the greatest weight. Compliments, gratitude, and verbal affirmations reinforce a woman's sense of worth and desirability. When a wife feels appreciated, she experiences an emotional security that opens her up to deeper intimacy. Conversely, neglecting acknowledgement, even unintentionally, can lead to feelings of invisibility, emotional distance, and reduced sexual desire. Appreciation is especially powerful because it addresses the emotional dimension of intimacy. Many women perform countless acts of care daily, managing households, supporting children, attending to social obligations, and often prioritizing the emotional needs of their partner. While men may notice these efforts externally, without verbal or physical acknowledgement, women may feel their work is taken for granted. This can subtly reduce desire over time. A simple thank you for the effort she puts into the family or a heartfelt recognition of her support can dramatically increase emotional closeness, which naturally enhances sexual fulfillment. Physical affection and attention also communicate appreciation. Small gestures such as holding hands, gentle touches, hugs, or spontaneous kisses demonstrate that she is valued not just for her actions, but for who she is. These expressions of affection reinforce the emotional bond that underpins sexual desire. When women feel cherished and physically connected in a loving, non-sexual context, their comfort, trust, and desire during intimacy are enhanced. Appreciation creates an emotional environment in which sexual fulfillment can thrive. It is also important to understand that appreciation must be authentic and specific. Generic compliments or insincere flattery often fail to make a meaningful impact. For example, acknowledging her hard work in organizing a family event, expressing admiration for her career achievements, or highlighting qualities you genuinely love about her personality can foster a profound sense of being seen. When appreciation is meaningful, women feel recognized as full individuals with unique contributions rather than merely fulfilling domestic or relational roles. This emotional validation strengthens intimacy and makes sexual engagement more fulfilling for both partners. Beyond verbal acknowledgement and physical affection, appreciation also involves emotional responsiveness. Listening actively, showing empathy during challenges, and celebrating her successes signal that her thoughts and feelings matter. When a wife feels emotionally supported, her stress levels decrease and she experiences a sense of partnership that extends into the bedroom. This emotional security is vital for sexual desire, as women often require a strong sense of connection before they can fully engage physically. Appreciation in this sense is not just about compliments. It is about consistently reinforcing that she is valued and respected. Another key aspect is reciprocity. Sexual fulfillment is not only about the wife feeling appreciated, it is about cultivating a two-way exchange of love, respect, and admiration. When both partners actively acknowledge and value each other's efforts, a powerful cycle of emotional intimacy is created. This mutual appreciation strengthens trust, reduces resentment, and fosters a deeper sexual connection. Men who prioritize this dynamic often notice that their wives respond with greater enthusiasm, engagement, and desire, creating a more vibrant and satisfying sexual relationship. In conclusion, sexual fulfillment for women is inseparable from the feeling of being appreciated. Emotional recognition, physical affection, and consistent validation are not superficial niceties. They are essential components of intimacy. When a wife feels genuinely valued, her desire, engagement, and emotional closeness flourish, transforming sexual activity from a routine act into a deeply connecting experience. Men who understand this principle and make a conscious effort to express appreciation daily can profoundly enhance both the emotional and sexual health of their marriage. By valuing her as a partner, an individual, and a lover, men open the door to a richer, more fulfilling, and mutually satisfying sexual relationship. Appreciation is, in short, the key that unlocks not only desire, but deeper emotional connection, trust, and lasting marital happiness.